You're
Okay.
live.
Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Um, we'll just kind of like let this stay on for a minute or two, but we're really excited to be having the opening ceremonies for Oshawa's location. This is the first time we're one of 12 Canadian locations this year for the NASA International Space Apps Challenge. And so we're gonna dive into what is the competition rundown, the logistics, and we'll be starting off with some amazing key speakers and a little introduction about International Space Apps Challenge. So this is our agenda for today. You'll be getting to know a little bit about us and then hear from our keynote speakers. We'll be going over the overview for everything, and this is the really important part, which is navigating the hackathon. And then at the end, we'll be starting the hacking at 9 a.m. and we'll be moving to Discord for the Q&A and team formation. Okay, so introductions. My name is Natasha. I am the registered local lead for this competition. And alongside me, I have Emily and Jachi. We've been working tirelessly for the past few months to bring together the Oshawa Challenge. And this is on behalf of an initiative by the Ontario Tech Engineering Student Society, of which I'm the president, and Emily is our VP Finance Executive, and Joshi is our director. Yeah. So a bit about the Space Apps. The NASA Space Apps Challenge is an international hackathon annually that takes place virtually and in person over a 2-day period for cities all around the globe between October 7th and 8th. So while you guys are hacking, everybody around the world is also hacking. Since its inception in 2012, NASA's International Space Apps Challenge has engaged 220,000 plus registrants from 185 plus countries and territories in using NASA's open data to build innovative solutions to challenges we face on Earth and in space. The event embraces collaborative problem solving with a goal of producing open source solutions to challenges we currently face in Earth and on space.
All right. So we've invited some wonderful guest speakers to kick off our challenge today. And it is my pleasure to introduce our 3 keynote speakers and presenters. Joining us today, we have Brian Gallant, Dr. Carolyn McGregor AM, and our partner, the Canadian Space Agency. So our first speaker for today is Brian Gallant. Brian Gallant is the CEO of Space Canada. He is a business executive, thought leader, and he was the 33rd Premier of New Brunswick. Brian is a special advisor to the President of Ontario Tech University, and he also frequently provides business and political analysis as a media commentator. In addition to serving as Premier of New Brunswick, Brian was the Attorney General, the Minister responsible for innovation, and the Minister responsible for women's equality. In 2018, he led his Premier colleagues as the Chair of the Council of the Federation. I will be handing over the floor to Brian now.
Bonjour. Hi, everyone. It is wonderful to be with you here on this Saturday morning. I have lots I want to tell you, but they told me to only take a few minutes. So I might be a little fast in my remarks, but it's only because I'm very enthusiastic about this event and about the topic that I'd like to talk to you about. Let me start off by just saying that we all take a quick moment and to resolve that we will, from time to time, think about the lands that we all call home, and obviously the role in which Indigenous people have played for our lands. I'm here in New Brunswick on the East Coast, so certainly we'll think about the Mi'kmaq here and the Maliseet as well. Also want to say a big thank you to the organizers, Natasha, Emily, Joshi. Thank you very much for making this happen, and also for the invitation. I'm really excited to be with all of you. And I just want to say, I know there's another speaker. I don't want to sort of steal a thunder for the introduction, but Dr. McGregor is such an asset to the space ecosystem here in Canada. You'll hear her bio and why she's so impressive, and it's great that she's here this morning. And just want to say, for those that are linked or going to Ontario Tech University, what a wonderful resource if you're interested in space, that she is there as well. So really happy to be with with my friends here this morning, but also all of you. October 7th today, just a real quick note, as mentioned, I'm a former premier, and it's a special day for me because it's actually 9 years ago on this day that I was sworn in as the Premier of New Brunswick. It was a wonderful day, October 7th, 2014. It was a wonderful celebration that day where I got sworn in. But then every day after that, I got sworn at, just so you all know. That's a little bit of the life of elected officials. But nevertheless, lots of interesting and I like to think fulfilling moments in that role that I got to play. I want to talk to you about the concept of taking up space, a little bit of a play on words there, because there's two things to it. One is I want to encourage all of you to take up space in your communities, in your own lives and ecosystems, and take up space for our country, the provinces that you all find yourselves in, and of course, just take up space and try to make a difference. The second component to that is take up space, the space sector, the space ecosystem, be interested in what space can offer. So really quickly, who we are called Space Canada. I'm the CEO of this organization that represents the Canadian space ecosystem. So we'll do anything and everything we can to try to advance and strengthen the space sector and ecosystem here in Canada. That means working with international partners for sure, such as NASA. It means working with domestic partners like the CSA, and of course, people like Dr. McGregor and others that are so pivotal to the space sector and ecosystem. So let me start off my message number one, with this. I really like this proverb. To move the largest of mountains, you must start with the smallest of stones. What I really like, it's inspirational, right? Move a mountain, but at the same time, it also reminds us that we need to break down that lofty goal into action items. So let's start off my talk really quickly with the idea of choosing the mountain that you want to move, figuratively. One concept I really appreciate is the Japanese concept of ikigai. Essentially, it means a reason for being. So what I really like about this is that it really breaks down, I think, in an inspirational, but again, practical way, how you can come to a conclusion of what you want to do with your life to have an impact, to be fulfilled. So it has 4 components. What is something that you're good at? What is something you love doing? What is something the world needs? And then what is something that you can get paid for? I really like this concept, but I have a couple little changes that I would make. So what you are good at, it should really be, in my opinion, what could you become good at? Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an expert at it now. What do you love? I want to make a caveat there. It doesn't mean that you're going to love doing the job, doing the profession, the career, the volunteer work, whatever it is, every single day for every single moment, because in fact, it might be actually more difficult because you're passionate and chose something you care about. What does the world need? That one, I just want to sort of say it's a great one, and it's a way to think of what challenges are out there right now that I can try to have an impact on. And what can you get paid for? I would change that to what can I build a career around? What can I have a fulfilling life around as well? So those are 4 kind of concepts with my proposed little nuances that I think are really good to reflect on. So how do you find your ikigai? Who are you? What are your values? What do you enjoy doing, as mentioned? What gets you going? What do you really feel an extra boost of energy when you're working on it? What is your desired impact? And what does the world need right now, as already mentioned? So on that, I had the chance to co-write a report called The Canadian Voices on the Role of Business in Society. It was a bunch of thought leaders and business leaders, and we asked them, what are the largest challenges facing the world right now? And unfortunately, there are no shortage of challenges. Fortunately, that means, though, that we have the ability to pick some things that we are passionate about and try to have an impact to overcome these challenges for our society, for our communities. Just to give you a more closer breakdown, almost everybody mentioned some version of climate change. It's the one that was mentioned the most by participants. Inequality and inequity were the second most named, pretty much right in tangent with climate change. Social cohesion, that means polarization, mistrust, no longer believing in institutions, that kind of thing kind of went into the bucket of social cohesion. And then the 2 that rounded off the top 5 was Canada's place in the world and Indigenous reconciliation, as per the participants of that report that I mentioned. So how to take up space? Well, I think you pick one of those challenges, and then I'd argue that space sector, the space ecosystem, can play a role in helping you tackle those challenges. And what an exciting time for space for everyone around the globe, and Canada included, whether it's the James Webb Telescope, which got us this amazing image that is basically helping us understand our place in the universe, whether it's the Artemis program, to which we have a Canadian, Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian Space Agency's astronaut, who is going to be an amazing ambassador for humankind, but also for Canada. And of course, the space sector is more than exploration. It's more than that, and that those parts are amazing and super interesting and fascinating and important. But also, we have within the space sector a positive impact on the economy. We can create jobs and economic opportunity. We can create wonderful, they call them kind of high qualified personnel jobs, which means that it's STEM and ones in which you have science, you have engineering, all that good stuff into it. We can also have an impact on things that are important and things that are challenges for us. Through space, we can help protect our forests. We can help address wildfires. We can help protect our oceans, essentially our coastlines. We can help protect our environment. And the World Meteorological Organization says that about 50% of the variables that we need to be monitoring to effectively tackle climate change can only or can best be monitored through space. We can help fill the digital divide and give people connectivity in remote, rural, indigenous, and northern communities. We can help traditional industries like farming be more effective, more sustainable. We can develop new types of innovations and help emerging industries that will help create opportunity for Canada and people around the world. We can also ensure our defense, security, and sovereignty through space. And Canada, what's really cool is Canada is really doing amazing things. We just have to think about the Canadarm, and we have a rich history in space. So if you are thinking about taking up space as one of the ways to take up space, then I really think that within Canada, you're really well positioned to be able to have a pretty global impact if you choose to do so. So my last points, if you want to continue to, after this wonderful event, to be engaged with the Canadian space ecosystem, October 17th and 19th in Ottawa, we have a conference. It's pretty expensive for students. We recognize that. So if any of you would want to volunteer, if you're in the Ottawa area for whatever reason at that time and you'd like to volunteer, we can get you passes to go to the conference. A friend of mine, colleague to the space ecosystem, Hira, wasn't able to join us, but she's with the Zenith Pathways, and they're organizing on October 17th in the kind of periphery of our conference, something for young professionals that they'll basically be having a day-long event, which will help sort of explain how and why you should get involved in the space sector from a career point of view. And then all of that will culminate on the 17th with a reception, 300 people from the space ecosystem, including CSA astronaut David Saint-Jacques. So to conclude, think about the challenges that we face in your community, in your province, your country, the world. Think about the concepts of Ikigai to help give you clarity on exactly how you can go about helping tackle those challenges. And then that means you have your mountain. Once you come to those two conclusions, then start to dissect the small stones that you need to move, which are essentially the action items that will help you one by one move the mountain that you have chosen for yourself. I hope it'll be space, but nevertheless, maybe space will just be an interest for you, but that's already pretty great. If you think you can make a difference, I always like to finish with this quote. Excuse me, it's from Margaret Mead, and it goes like this: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." So you can all make a big difference, and the fact you're here on a Saturday morning listening to me speak demonstrates that you're ready to do so. Thank you so much, everyone.
And thank you, Brian. That was a really great speech. I hope all of our participants today can find their Ikigai and take away the idea that they can move their own mountains, can take on the Space Up Challenge this year, and can even make an impact on the space research and development in the future. So now I'd like to introduce our second keynote speaker. Dr. Carolyn McGregor, AM and PhD, is the Interim Dean of the Faculty of Business and IT at Ontario Tech University here in Oshawa. She is also the Research Chair in Artificial Intelligence for Health and Wellness and the Director of the Joint Research Center in AI for Health and Wellness, as well as a 2-time Canada Research Chair in Health Informatics. Dr. McGregor is an internationally leading research in the area of critical care informatics and is currently running research on the International Space Station. So I will now pass the floor to Carolyn McGregor. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you today. I'm really delighted to share with you some of the things that are part of my Ikigai. So broadly, what I've found my passion area is creating computing solutions for health, wellness, resilience, and adaptation for humans in extreme environments. And so today we're going to be talking about humans in space. So this is actually a video from Yuri Gagarin's inaugural flight to space. And what a lot of people don't realize and understand, that in this particular flight, he was actually wearing medical monitoring equipment. So during that flight, they were able to measure and understand his electrocardiogram. The data was captured on a device, which is sort of like a Holter device. It's capturing the data with him during the space flight. When he came back, they took that actual electrocardiogram from him, and they printed out the movement of his heart, which is what the electrocardiogram measures. They printed that out, and they literally used a ruler to measure key points that they were looking for in the electrocardiogram to understand what the launch, what the flight, the return was doing to his body. And so my research is really interested in looking at what we can do to understand and create systems to understand the human in space. So currently, even today, and even from these early days, health assessment in space was performed discontinuously. There were periodic health assessments, checklists. It was run from Earth. They were looking for what we call differential diagnoses, which is looking for patterns if things were changing away from normal. But you're always limited in what you put in space by the size, its weight, its power, and also the consumables. So we're looking for ways that we can measure their physiology more and more often. This is a long list here, but there's many, many things that being in space can impact. Can impact your muscles, your breathing and your heart, your nervous system, your immune system. It even impacts how you feel being in that confined space. So here I have a picture of the International Space Station. And on the left, the cosmonaut is wearing what's called the Cosmocard device, which is a Holter-style electrocardiogram device. And up until even these recent years, that's a device that's been used for long-term capture of physiology in space. And on the right, you can see David Saint-Jacques, and he commissioned another contribution that Canada actually has on the International Space Station called the Biomonitor. So he's wearing the Biomonitor shirt, he has the Biomonitor headband on, and he's holding the docking mechanism that we use because it is still a Holter style. The data that's collected is stored on this data unit that is connected to the shirt, and then they dock it and download the data. So he commissioned that. So Canada doesn't just have the Canadarm in space, we also have the Biomonitor. And so researchers like me are provisioned with time to be able to have astronauts wear this particular garment, male and female astronauts wear the garment at different stages, before they go, when they're in flight, and afterwards. So here's a little bit of a closer look at these particular devices. They allow for the capture of data, but there's so much more that we can do with the data once we have it. So getting back to my Ikigai, it started on a journey where I realized that what I wanted to do was to watch for conditions in preterm infants when they're born. So infants when they're born early, gather all the data that's collected from them and help doctors detect changes in their health status when they're trying to just feed and grow outside of the womb. Through a connection and meeting of a retired astronaut in Canada, I was introduced to the Canadian Space Agency, NASA, and the Russian Institute for Biomedical Problems. And then a few years later, I found myself at the space facility in Russia. This is the Mars facility. This is the spacecraft. They isolated a group of men for 500 days a few years ago, back in 2017, to simulate what it would be like on a mission for that amount of time, all only being in that spacecraft. And then halfway through, they got to go up this ramp into this enclosure to simulate going to Mars. So yes, I have been to Mars. And then gather some experimental data, some samples, go back down the stairs, back into the capsule for another 250 days. And then here is a photo of a mission down the bottom left here of some women that went through a simulation. Actually, this was a simulation in 2017, which was just for 7 days. The 500-day mission had been before that. This mission, isolating a group of women, first time an all-female crew, had been isolated in an analog mission to go into space. And it was simulating them going on a moon mission. We also use what's called dry immersion tanks. We use these tanks to be able to measure what is happening to the body when it's not subjected as much to the gravity. And so they're floating in these tanks. So I'm very fortunate to have a number of collaborative partners now that help me with this work. And we can measure a whole lot of metrics to understand what's changing in the way the heart's working, the way the breathing's working, and the distribution of oxygen. So here's a close-up look about what I'm using currently in space. So the astronauts are commissioned to wear the garment for me for certain periods of time. I gather the data, and then I show how my computing system works on Earth and also could work in space to understand how their physiology is changing. So here's some information about my actual mission on the International Space Station. This is actually my second mission. My first mission was part of a private astronaut mission, which I'll share in a moment. But my mission's called Space Health. This is the logo for my mission, and information on this mission is on the Canadian Space Agency website. If you just look up Biomonitor and McGregor, you should be able to find it. It's also been featured on the NASA site that's outlining different studies that's running on the International Space Station. And I'm so honoured that the Canadian Space Agency has sponsored my work to be able to understand physiology in space, and also so that Canada can contribute these computing systems for health in space. As I mentioned, I was part of this all-private astronaut mission. I was one of the mission scientists in support of Mark Pathy. And on all of these missions, I'm so grateful to SpaceX for transporting the equipment that I use, for the Axiom team, particularly in this private mission where they sent this team of private astronauts, including Mark Pathy, and of course, the leadership and support that we have from our fabulous Canadian Space Agency. To get the data back down to Earth, it's sitting on a device up in space. So how do we get the data back on Earth? Well, actually, we have a series of satellites that are in place around the Earth, but it only has a 600 megabit per second delivery mechanism. And that's for everything. That's for other communications with the astronauts. That's for systems that can watch the operation. That's for robotic systems that run the Canadarm. They're all using this 600 megabits per second. And so for my study, the data is collected for 48 hours. They wear the garment, and then it's streamed down to Earth through these types of mechanisms. But ultimately, when we're thinking about going to the moon and beyond, we have to rethink the way that we have telecommunications in space, because as much as we can give them systems on board, we still have the capacity, even with distance, with the moon, to be able to communicate with them in quite near real time if we have more bandwidth to be able to do that. And so one of my key partnerships is with two companies. One is called Comstar, the other is Laserlight, and they are provisioning new telecommunication infrastructure to give us a new ultimate edge. And that ultimate edge is going to be the moon. It may sound like a long way away with a satellite at 41,632 miles from Earth, or from the moon, sorry, and even further from Earth, 225,000 miles, but it can actually line of sight to the moon and be gathering data and sending it down to Earth either utilizing radio frequency or optical information. So I'm working now on demonstrator projects and part of the commissioning of that work, and that's happening right here in Oshawa. I live and work in the region, and I'm very proud to be doing that. So here's a rather busy diagram of the complex infrastructure that I'm actually commissioning, and I have a team of students here helping along with my collaborative partners. Through some wonderful support of from the Canadian Space Agency, I've been able to work on a project because Canada really wants to lead health for astronauts and other space travelers. And so they've commissioned the initial establishment of these health pods. Ours is called Harmony, and it provides, amongst other things, a virtual concierge, a telemetry platform to have wearable and non-wearable devices to gather information about behavioural health and wellness and just overall health, and also to provide medical training. So one of the things to keep in mind is that this isn't applicable for space, it's also applicable down on Earth. This magazine is almost 100 years old, and at the time they thought about this idea of providing remote healthcare. You can find this online, you can read the article. They actually created it as a bit of a joke because they really couldn't see the point and the need to have a patient in one location and a doctor in another. And we now, all 100 years on, can see that, and we're still working to build these robust solutions. It still has great applicability to do this in rural and remote areas of Canada, or as I also found, when you have an ice storm and you can't leave your house for 3 days, you still need to be able to have that provisioning of remote healthcare. So lots of opportunities. How did I get here? I was a high school student who loved maths, first in my family to go to university. And when people presented me with opportunities, even if I didn't really know what I was doing and how I was going to do it, I said yes. I do work for the Canadian military on pre-deployment acclimation for extreme environments. These are our chambers. I'm working with a hyperbaric chamber also in Sydney. I run a research centre to look at humans in all these different extremes. I want to thank my partners. And here's some information to follow me on Twitter. You can also find me on LinkedIn. They'll share those details. On Instagram, my handle on Instagram is just CP McGregor without the underscore. These opportunities are available to everyone. I'm really glad and excited that you're being part of this challenge today. And I'll hand back to our organisers. Thanks very much for your time.
So thank you so much, Carolyn. It was so fascinating hearing about your innovations and the history of health research in space. For our participants, the NASA Space Apps Challenge is such a great opportunity to explore NASA's open data. And maybe one day we'll see you follow in her footsteps and conduct your own research and data collection in space. So moving forward, we will hear from Dr. John Moores on behalf of the Canadian Space Agency, who will give us an introduction to the Canadian Space Agency challenges offered here that you'll have the chance of working with for this challenge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 edition of the Space Apps Challenge in Canada. I'm pleased to welcome you on behalf of the Canadian and Scientific Advisor to the Canadian Space Agency's President. And today, I'm speaking to you from the Canadian Space Agency headquarters just outside Montreal, Quebec, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Mohawk Nation. It is a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst nations. And I invite you to take a moment to reflect and acknowledge the traditional Indigenous territory where you are located. This year's Space Apps Challenge has the largest Canadian cohort ever, with local events organized in 12 Canadian cities, from Inuvik to Halifax and many places in between. Thank you to all the organizers and the participants, your expertise. The theme of this year's event is Explore Open Science Together. This theme is extremely relevant It celebrates the benefits and successes created through the open sharing of knowledge and data. Open science principles and practices ensure that everyone has the resources to participate and contribute to science. Practices involve respecting diversity, culture, collaboration, and equity, while at the same time maintaining security and privacy. The Canadian Space Agency is committed to this mission and is taking concrete actions towards increasing the accessibility of its publications and its data. This year alone, the agency has made more RadarSat constellation mission data accessible to all. We also restored and published historical Alouette 1 satellite data from the 1960s, amongst many other exciting things. For more information, you can consult our Open Science Action Plan on our website. Now, back to the Space Apps Challenge. Each challenge is divided into 2 groups based on level of complexity. The less technical level is called the Stargazer, and the more technical coding challenge is called the Moonwalker. Participants around the world, regardless of their backgrounds and expertise, are welcome to take part in these challenges as active citizen scientists. This year, the Canadian Space Agency is hosting 2 challenges. The first challenge is the Curiosity Collective. Your mission is to design or promote a citizen science project using Canadian open data. You'll have to encourage citizen scientists to explore the wonders of space by using data to shape the future of science, while making a lasting impact with passion and with creativity. The second challenge is called Too Long, Didn't Read. The goal of this challenge is to take large amounts of data and present them in a way that allows decision makers to get the information they need at a glance. To tackle this, we need you to use Canadian data to create compelling and interactive visualizations designed with specific users in mind. These are very exciting challenges. To read the full challenges, we invite you to visit the 2023 Space Apps page on the Canadian Space Agency's website. Also, be sure to read the participant guide on Discord for all the details on how to submit your solutions. While you take on these challenges, you can count on our mentors. They are ready to answer your questions and will help you most relevant open data for your projects. They will assist you in using this data to its full potential in your proposed solutions. Our experts will be available all through the weekend on the agency's Discord channel. A link to the channel available in our website as well. Explore the wonderful opportunities of Canadian data and surprise us by finding innovative solutions to real problems in space and right here on Earth. Hearing about your solutions. Good luck to everyone, and thank you for participating.
All right. So that is it for our speakers for the day, and now we can continue. So we have the competition overview.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm here to share the schedule for today and tomorrow. So hacking begins at 9 a.m. From 9 to 9:30, we have a Q&A and team formation. From 10 to 10:30, we have a workshop on open data. From 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., we have a workshop on basic React. From 4 to 4:30, we have a space trivia game that will be hosted on Kahoot. From 6 to 7, we have a chess tournament. And from 10 to 11, we have a late night gaming party on Discord. Now, this will be the schedule for tomorrow. From 12 to 1, we have a space careers panel. From 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., we have a workshop on client-server interaction. From 4 to 6, we have a local lead check-ins. From 5 to 6 p.m., we have a typing contest. From 6 to 7, there'll be a virtual escape room. From 7 to 8, there'll be a resume review. and by 11:59 all the projects will be due.
So before we move on, let's just talk a little bit more about the Space Careers panel tomorrow at 12. So we have a very exciting list of space industry superstars that will be here to talk about space careers and answer your questions. We'll be collecting questions for this panel on the Discord as well as during the panel live stream. So if you have any questions for space professionals, or if you just want to hear more about what it's like working in the industry, I definitely recommend attending this panel. Joining us tomorrow, we will have Dr. Carolyn McGregor, who we've just heard from in our opening ceremonies, Francis Picot, who is a spacecraft component sales engineer for Sinclair Interplanetary by Rocket Lab, Jacqueline Good, who is the founder and CEO of the satellite software company Magnustar Inc., and Sean Mitra, who is a space lawyer and the co-founder and CEO of Foundation Space Resources.
Our judging panel is comprised of professionals in the space sector, software engineering, and industry technical experts. Now, for first place, each team member will win a $100 Amazon gift card. For second place, each team member will win a $50 Amazon gift card. And for third place, each team member will win a $25 Amazon gift card. And each team will be comprised of up to 4 members.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about navigating the hackathon. This would be kind of the most important part of this opening ceremonies. I mean, we're kind of now shifting towards what are the logistics of the Space Apps Challenge. So for team formation, teams must be 1 to 4 members, and each team member must be registered for the competition. Anyone from any local lead may join your team, but the team owner must be registered to the Oshawa location in order to qualify for our prizes and judging panel. So if you happen to recruit competitors from, I don't know, Brazil, then just make sure that you would be the team owner so that you can qualify for the judging panel and for the Oshawa Space Apps Challenge. Teams can be confirmed on the Teams tab for the local event page, where you can view if there are other teams looking for members and what challenges they want to hack for. And that'll kind of be a good way to get started learning about who's trying to do what challenge. Going into the challenges, every team must choose one challenge. And there are 30 different challenges for you to choose from. And in order to find your ideal challenge, you can use the filter by tags to help you narrow down your choice. So tags are helpful for also like any non-technical or beginner participants to know if a challenge may require technical skills. And they also do explicitly say if the challenge is beginner, intermediate friendly, or advanced. You may refer to the resources tab of the challenge you're interested in to get started on learning more about it. And as you guys have heard from the CEO of from the Space Canada video at the end. So that the CSA is hosting unique Canadian challenges, and Canadian participants may choose to compete for their challenges. However, you have to note that the submissions will defer. There's a guide going to be available on Discord, and these challenges would make you ineligible for the global judging. However, you would be eligible for eligible to win their challenges. And so project submission guidelines. During the event, participants should be in teams of 1 to 4, focusing on solving only one specific challenge issued by NASA or CSA. Any project that includes at least one participant and submits their project by the deadline, which is Sunday, tomorrow, October 8th, 11:59 p.m. local time, makes that project eligible for awards. In order for a project to receive an award or be eligible for global judging, it must be submitted to the Space Apps Challenge website via a project page, and the project page must include links to the original resources, such as source code repo or hardware schematics. Solutions will only be accepted for judging if they are licensed under an open source license as determined by the Open Source Initiative. All resources used must be cited and must be from NASA's open data resources. Review the resources page and important guides on the Discord channel called Key Information, please.
This year, you can access global offers by global collaborators directly from the dashboard. The GitHub discussions guide for these project tools is available on the Discord channel Key Information. This year's global collaborators are GoDaddy Registration, Google, Meteomatics, Miro, Microsoft, and Table.
So we are 3 minutes early, Emily.
Right. So thanks for coming to the opening ceremonies. We're really excited to have you join us today for the first time that this event, the NASA Space Apps Challenge, is being hosted in Oshawa. And so we hope you guys are also equally excited to get started on hacking. And so just to confirm that everyone, make sure to check your emails and make sure that you've joined our Discord server so that you can interact with the other hackers and form teams and also attend our social events that Jachi talked about in our schedule.
Okay, so we will be now wrapping up on YouTube and moving to Discord, where I would like to facilitate team formation for anyone who's looking to still join a team or want to recruit more members, as well to kind of host like a space for Q&A. So please find the voice channel and then join the call there. Thank you so much, everyone.
Guess we'll end the stream on YouTube. So goodbye, everyone.